Welcome to this week's Justice Watch weekly news roundup of corruption, coming to you from your fascist state. Our first article is about a report which came out this week, which was commissioned by the Prime Minister in 2015 after a 15-month delay. It came to the conclusion that custody deaths should be treated as murder inquiries. Still to this day, no one police officer has ever been charged with murder and convicted of murder. Not one police officer, apart from once during World War II, where a police officer was a serial killer. Not once has a police officer been convicted of murder. That's what, 60, 70 years? Despite all these deaths we hear about. Almost every week, a member of the public comes into contact with a police officer and ends up dead. How many people do you come into contact with that end up dead? How many professions out there that meet their clients and their clients end up dead? It's clearly a rule for them and a rule for us. If we killed someone, we'll be in jail that day, that week. We'll be charged with murder and will be remanded onto court date. Then we'll be convicted and sent to jail for life. How come no police officer has ever spent a day in jail for murder? Not one. Aston McLean was killed by police in 2014. Tomorrow we will have a misconduct hearing after the police sprayed pepper spray at him and then hit him with a police car. These officers are not facing charges of murder, but misconduct. Misconduct.
The fact now is that we waited 2 years for them to tell us that nothing's going to come of it. There's going to be no justice. So how do they expect the black families, mixed race families, it seems to happen to them sort of families more than other families, you know? Who's next?
It was just a joke. We've waited all this time for what?
For nothing.
For nothing.
A member of the public was travelling in his car. He was stood in traffic, whilst a police car travelling at 50 miles an hour slammed into the back of his vehicle, causing his car to burst into flames, which then caused the police car to also burst into flames. This member of the public is very lucky to still be alive. The police are reckless and they'll put members of the public in great danger, especially when they are driving in their police cars. Still to this day, the police have not issued an apology to that member of the public, or the member of the public in general, for their reckless and dangerous driving. How long will it take for this police officer to now face misconduct charges at a police hearing, not criminal court? It's one rule for us and it's one rule for them. In Derbyshire, where this incident took place, Derbyshire Police Force since 2014 has injured 70 members of the public in car crash incidents, killing one member of the public. This is how dangerous they are. The next story is a perfect example of fascism in the UK and how the police work for corporations and the government and not us, the public. A furniture store was going bankrupt, so customers decided to go to the store and collect items which they had already paid for, but the store had not delivered those items. So these customers phone up the police and say Their store is committing theft, they're committing fraud. We've paid for our items, but the store is refusing to deliver those items. So the police turn around and say, it's a civil matter. We can't get involved. So moments later, the store phones up the police. And the next minute, the firearm squad turn up. Once again, this is a perfect example of how it's one rule for them and one rule for us. And the police are not here to protect us or to keep us safe or to serve us in any way. They are corporate security guards. And this is the perfect example.
Yeah, I paid in full for my goods. We've waited for 24 weeks. We've been calling, nobody answers the calls. Their Nottingham brand's closed down. It's allegedly owned by Vance Miller. We've come today to pick our... It's on for delivery for tomorrow. When we called, we've had to prove that we paid by Visa debit, because if we'd have paid by credit card, they've told us to ask for our money back from the bank. And then basically just take it from there. They were going to deliver it on Monday. We don't think this premises was going to be open Monday, so we came to collect it.
You phoned the police this morning?
We phoned the police, 999, to say, make sure it's a peaceful, we're going to take our goods, it's here, we've been told it's here, and the police have turned up and said, it's a civil matter. They've called the police have told us to get off the premises because they've requested we get off private premises, and basically we're stood outside now waiting for the resolve of the police.
Since we're on the subject of fascism, in Wales, they will now have police officers stationed at 3 hospitals. Once again, this is step-toeing into total fascism. Because this is what you need when you're sick and injured and in a very vulnerable situation. You want to come into contact with police officers. This is fascism. It's step-toeing into fascism. It's only a matter of time before we see police officers based in supermarkets like Tesco's. This is Nazism. Figures this week came out and showed there are more police officers per head than 50 years ago. Despite crime on the increase, despite half as number of arrests a decade ago. So, what are the police doing? When the police tell you that, they need more funds, they can't deal with the number of incidents that they're being called out to. They're undersourced, understaffed. There's more police officers than ever, but yet crime is on the increase. And they're making only half a number of arrests a decade ago. So what are the police doing? They are too busy acting as corporate security guards. They are too busy trying to censor people with hate speech and trolling on the internet. They're too busy trying to criminalize activists that are peacefully protesting. The next story is a very complicated story to break down. It has many layers to it. A chief constable this week has come out and said that they can't deal with the widespread images of children being raped. By this chief constable coming out and saying this, he has given the green light to all these paedophiles to continue to go around and rape children, to continue to groom children. But also, it's the agenda of censoring the internet, of bringing about new laws and rules to censor the internet. Once again, this is fascism. Maybe if the police did their job and arrested and charged these paedophiles, they wouldn't be on the street. How many paedophiles are given light sentences? In fact, most are not even jailed. Pedophiles know they can get away with this because the police are not investigating, they're not charging them, and the courts are not sending them to jail. These animals are predators. They will continue to do this over and over and over and over. It's not something which you can stop or cure. You gotta lock them away and throw away the key. It's that simple. A group formed by members of the public who tracked down these pedophiles grooming children on the internet tracked down this one pedophile who was trying to groom a 13-year-old. And despite him already being on a sex register list, despite him already being on probation for child pornography crimes, after they detained him and the police arrived, they arrested this pedophile, but then they released him for further investigations. He should have been remanded straight away, not just for the child pornography, for grooming this 13-year-old on the internet, but surely he would have broken his probation orders. He should have been sent back to jail. But now he's back on the streets, and without any doubt he will start grooming children once again. The police are not doing their job. Maybe because most police officers in the police force are pedophiles themselves and sexual offenders themselves. Every week we see these stories come out. It's an epidemic, and the police are not dealing with this. We found out this week that police officers may be given powers to interview suspects and members of the public at the scene of incidents, without any lawyers or solicitors being present. How many members of the public know that they have rights to legal representation? How is this not going to increase the corruption in the police force and increase the amount of false arrests that are made? Maybe this was why police officers were issued body cameras in the first place. Because these cameras were supposed to protect us, the public, from police assaults and corruption. But we know that's not the case. So maybe this was why they issued police officers with body cameras, so they can record us, interview us, evidence which will be used in court without any solicitors or lawyers giving us the public advice. It's so corrupt.